FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
It was an effort on my part to say that conservatives are concerned about the environment. We have better solutions. I actively opposed cap and trade. I testified against it the same day Al Gore testified for it. But the commercial was just a mistake.
Okay, now do you believe in man-made global warming, that because the planet is polluted and we spew a lot of stuff into the air, that has influenced the way climate comes about? Do you believe that?
I don't think we know. I think that the evidence is not complete, and I think that we're a long way from being able to translate a computer program into actual science.
All right, so you're an agnostic on the subject. Would that be accurate?
I think it'd be fair to say that I'm open-minded and certainly not prepared to spend trillions of dollars on a theory.
I understand that point. It's a point that I've heard Mitt Romney make as well. There's a lot of stuff we're going to get to, so without further delay, Mr. Speaker, Newt Gingrich, also a presidential primary contender. It's good to speak with you again, sir. Thanks for joining me.
It's great talking to you, and I understand. Is this a case where one conservative alternative is talking to the other conservative alternative?
I was ribbing Adam Waldeck last night in text. We were discussing things back and forth. I had to go at him.
Adam briefed me. He was deeply shaken by it. He was going to dump me for you. He said, look, he's going with the real thing.
He's
you
the
were,
riot.
by the way, brilliant in our movie, A City Upon a Hill.
Oh, well, it was a lot of fun to do. Thank you.
Job.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun to do. It was a great movie as well, and it's a good stocking stuffer if people are familiar with it. I wanted to ask you. There's so much to get. First of all, you're really racking up some endorsements in New Hampshire. You have the union leader, which came out and endorsed you. Your groundwork in New Hampshire has been fantastic. You have a really good support system. You're feeling pretty confident.
Well, I think we have a real chance. Look, this is, New Hampshire still has to be seen as Romney's stronghold, and he was governor next door. He owns a home in the state. He's worked it hard for 6 years. But I think that we're gaining ground. I think the notion that as the conservative in the race, that I have certain advantages over somebody who was, after all, Massachusetts governor.
Right.
But I would say I'm relatively stronger in Iowa and South Carolina, but have a fighting chance in New Hampshire.
Yes, well, it's definitely looking that way as well. And there's a lot of news coming out. I mean, obviously, New Hampshire is fantastic. You had a press release that you released this yesterday, going after the Department of Justice for their lawsuit against South Carolina over their immigration law. And this is something that Arizona's had to deal with, South Carolina now. Anytime any particular state wants to enforce their own 10th Amendment rights and take care of illegal immigration, here we have Obama's Department of Justice suing them. This is such a huge problem, and I think one of the reasons that why we have such an illegal immigration problem, and I believe that you address this on your website, too, which is what I wanted to ask you. One of the biggest hurdles in solving this illegal immigration problem, of course, is easing up on this bureaucracy and allowing states like South Carolina to do what they need to do.
Well, look, what you have is a problem which only exists because the federal government has failed. When states, out of desperation, start doing what the federal government should be doing, it's doubly outrageous to have the federal government then block the state and sue the state for trying to do the job the feds should be doing in the first place. And then it's triply outrageous when the federal government allows foreign governments to enter amicus briefs against an American state. I mean, you have 16 foreign countries with Barack Obama suing South Carolina, which led me to say today, I sometimes wonder what country he thinks he's president of, because he's certainly not defending the American Constitution and defending American states against foreign lawsuits.
Yes. Do you really think that there will be a Lincoln? That you'll get your wish and you'll have a debate with the president and he'll get to bring his teleprompter?
Oh yeah, look, I think if I'm the Republican nominee, I'm confident he'll end up debating me, and partly because I'm prepared in my acceptance speech to announce, if he has not already agreed to the debate, that the White House will be my scheduler, and I will appear 4 hours after Obama everywhere he goes for the duration of the campaign, and I will answer each of his speeches. And the negative publicity that will get him, and the sense of him constantly running away, and the fact that it gives me the advantage then of always being the guy with the answer, so the news coverage will be Gingrich's rebuttal. I suspect at some point they'll decide it's easier just to agree to debate me.
Yeah, and that's a great plan too. By the way, I would love to see something like that happen. That would because he's always been very weak in his debates, and it would be.
Look, to be honest, I stole it from Abraham Lincoln. It's what Lincoln did to Douglas in 1858 when Douglas didn't want to debate. And back then, of course, the news media was slower than today.
Right.
So Lincoln followed him by one day.
Oh, that's
and
great.
After 3 weeks, Douglas broke and said, "All right." But given modern 24-hour television news and talk radio, I figured you would do it 4 hours later, and you could probably follow him 2 or 3 times a day.
Yes.
And it would presently dominate the news, and you'd have this spectacle. I tell people just on an ego basis, how does a Columbia Harvard graduate who was the editor of the Law Review look himself in the mirror, and supposedly the best orator in the Democratic Party, how does he look himself in the mirror and say that he's afraid to debate a West Georgia College professor?
Right. Now, everyone is talking about your interview yesterday evening with Bill O'Reilly. We played the audio of that coming in this, where the topic of climate change came up. And again, the discussion of the PSA that you did with Nancy Pelosi, that was once again broached. And you were saying that it was a mistake that you did this with Nancy Pelosi, that you were trying to give the sense that conservatives do care about the environment. They care about being good stewards of the environment. And then he asked you whether or not you believed in climate change, and he got you to say that you were an agnostic, but that you weren't prepared to spend trillions of dollars on it. Are you really an agnostic on climate change?
Well, I don't use the word agnostic just because in some parts of the country that gets confused with religious agnosticism. What I said was I don't think that the evidence is solid either way right now. I think there's substantial evidence of climate change, but it's not definitive. The fact is the Earth's climate changes all the time. There is also very significant dissenters who do not believe that it's related to man-made. And as recently as a couple of weeks ago, there was a report published in Science and Nature magazines from CERN, which is the largest physics lab in Europe, where they think that the computer models are off by at least a factor of 4 in their estimate of how much energy escapes from the Earth's atmosphere, that 4 times as much escapes as the computer models indicate, which has a huge impact on the buildup of any kind of heat, if there is a buildup.
Right.
But there's a deeper part to this. I used to be, and I guess I still am, an amateur paleontologist. You know, I was at the Field Museum over Labor Day, and we were looking at dinosaurs from the Antarctic. Now, if there were dinosaurs in the Antarctic, they didn't have glaciers. And that means the Earth was dramatically warmer than it is now. And so part of the question you have to ask yourself is there a natural temperature of the planet, or in fact, does it change regularly based on a variety of factors, including output of the sun, volcanic activity, etc.? In which case, the Dutch have not tried to lower the sea. They just built dikes. And it may well be that even if there is some kind of climate change underway, which it may or may not be happening, that it's easier to ameliorate it than it is to try to stop it.
Right. Well, and I know that there are probably some conservatives out there that would say definitively, well, you need to come out against it. This is the doorway through which they're going to try to change the face of the American economy, and which I can understand.
Look, but here's my point to conservatives who talk like that. I'm comfortable if you say to me there are a substantial number of scientists who disagree. And science is not about a vote. Science is about what's fact.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable if you say to me that your scientists are dramatically better than the left scientists, and therefore you're sure that you know the truth. Because I think nobody currently knows the truth. I think we need a lot more research. And I'll just give you one example. 11,000 years ago, the Gulf Stream stopped for reasons we don't understand. And there was a little ice age in Europe because there was no warm water coming up from the Caribbean. And for 600 years, the glaciers advanced very rapidly. And then the Gulf Stream started up again. Now, I don't know of any climatologist who can explain what happened. And if you have events on that scale that we don't understand, I'm very leery of the idea that we magically understand exactly what the left needs us to understand to give them power to control our lives.
Well, last quick question that I have for you. I know your schedule is packed, and we're getting ready to go to commercial here. But I wanted to, with all of the headlines coming out about Herman Cain right now, beginning with the first story that Politico broke weeks ago. Now we have this other woman coming forward. I've noticed that Aaron Blake, who writes for the Washington Post, The Fix, it's a political blog, has reached out to readers asking them to crowdsource your past to see if they can get some skeletons in your closet. Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of it. I'm not at all surprised. I think that you have to expect that kind of trash. I've been honest about the fact that there are things I did in my past that I've had to go to God and seek forgiveness for and seek reconciliation. And if this guy manages to find some magic example, I will stipulate it.
Wow.
I have a very good marriage with Callista. We're very, very close and have been now for well over a decade. I'm very close to my two daughters and my son-in-laws, and I'm very close to my grandchildren. And I'll let people look at who I am and how I live today and decide whether or not I'm the person they want to have as president. It's a little sad to see a paper, the quality of the Washington Post stoop to that, which used to be the National Enquirer approach to life. But, that's just the nature of where we are today.
And I wish that they would crowdsource the White House visitor logs the way that they're going after individuals like you or Sarah Palin.
I wish they would crowdsource to discover what he did at Columbia University, and I wish they would crowdsource to figure out what he did with Saul Alinsky's ideas on the south side of Chicago.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody's ever explored exactly. The community organizer did not mean Boys and Girls Club. It meant Saul Alinsky radicalism.
It absolutely did.
But the news media has never quite found itself as excited about the facts about Barack Obama. It would rather worry about rumors about conservatives than facts about the president.
Well, that's absolutely true. I wish, Mr. Gingrich, that you were on the ballot, the primary ballot here in Missouri.
No. The only reason that was not a mistake. That has no relation to delegates. We're going to be there for the caucuses very aggressively. That's the only reason we've not filed any place there was a beauty contest.
Oh, I had so many emails about that. Oh my goodness. Well, Newt Gingrich.
But that's the only reason we did it. Is that we didn't. We weren't in the Florida Presidency 5. We weren't at the Ames thing. We didn't spend any money anywhere.
Yep.
There was a beauty contest. That was the only reason.
Well, that's a good point to make. Well, Mr. Gingrich, I appreciate you so much joining me this afternoon. I know we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Can I report to Adam that he's okay? He hasn't lost face here.
No, Adam's totally fine. He actually told on my husband, who was supposed to be printing off a Christmas list, because he was texting both of us. Yeah, that's funny. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.